Hi guys, good afternoon. We will just wait a couple of minutes for everyone to join. I can see a few people jumping on now. We keep joking in every webinar to have like a little intro waiting room music, and we really need to invest in that.
It's always that awkward moment when we're like, do we get started?
Yeah, we'll get started soon. Oh, just as we're about to get started, I've got the groundskeepers in my apartment whippersnipping, so apologies if you can hear that. We'll just wait a couple more moments. I guess while we're waiting, I'll also mention some housekeeping. So guys, we definitely welcome any questions that you have. If you can, try and pop them in the Q&A so that they don't get lost in the chat. All right. With that, I might just start off if you're ready, Sim.
Yeah, I'm ready, good to go.
Awesome. So thanks guys again for joining us this afternoon for our email marketing best practices workshop. This is part of a 6-part series around marketing 101 for MSPs. So it's specifically designed for managed service providers that are essentially new to marketing. We know that marketing within managed service providers, it's kind of a new thing. Most MSPs don't have their own internal marketing team. So we have invited Sim from Pounce Marketing as an expert to run that through with you. So I'll just let Sim sort of take over.
Thanks so much, Meryl, and thank you guys for having me today and for the opportunity to present to you guys on some of my email marketing best practices. Whether you're new to email marketing or whether you've done it before, I really hope that throughout this session you get some light bulb moments or there's some key things that you can walk away from this webinar and start implementing in your business. So for those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Sim. I'm the CEO and founder of Pounce Marketing. So we're a full service marketing agency that specializes in the B2B IT space. So we work across the channel. So we work with distributors, we work with a variety of different vendors, and we also work with a lot of MSPs across the APAC region. So I think this is kind of why it was really fitting when Meryl came to us and, they were asking us how we can support MSPs. It was a perfect opportunity to kind of collaborate to see how we can work together on this. So what is email marketing? Everyone has different definitions of what email marketing is, but in my opinion, I believe that email marketing really helps you connect with your audience in a very targeted and personal manner. And the ultimate aim is to really help amplify your brand. So did you know that the first email was sent out by Ray Tomlinson? So I'm going to let you guys put in chat if anyone can tell me what year the first email was sent. It's a bit of pub trivia here, guys, but it's an opportunity. I think, we can kind of see what we can do from a prize perspective. But if we get someone who can get the closest of the right answer, we've got 1978. Nope, that's not, it's very close. Any other takers? Nope, not 1982.
These are a lot earlier than I thought.
So the right answer is 1971. So there you go. If you ever were in the pub and you were faced with this trivia question, now you'll know the right answer. And funnily enough, Ray Tomlinson's claim to fame was also the introduction of the @ symbol in email addresses to the world. So if you wonder why you have the @ symbol, you can attribute it to this great man, Ray Tomlinson. So jumping into it, why is email marketing important? I think from my perspective, there's lots of reasons why email marketing is important. Firstly, I believe that it's a more personalized approach to your digital marketing. You are having that one-on-one conversation with someone. So it helps to build that connection and that rapport. Secondly, it helps you build brand awareness. Your emails get delivered to your potential clients or your prospects in their mailbox. And the minute they see it, it's just another touch point that you have with your customer base. Um, Email marketing, there's lots of different ways that you can do email marketing, but if email marketing is done right, it really can help you close more sales. And the reason why I say this is because, for example, if someone has come into your database, or if you've had a meeting with a client, they may or may not be ready to purchase your products or your solutions, but throughout the journey, you can kind of send them email nurtures or drip email campaigns where you're kind of just giving them little nuggets of additional information to help them in their decision-making process. For example, you can send them, it might be a comparison report, it might be an analyst report, or it might be a product related information report. So there's different things that you can do to help guide them on that process.
Just on that, Sim, it's not only for, new prospective clients, it's also for your existing customer base, and also, it helps with that sort of laying out the carpet as well for that client experience. So if you're really looking, which is one of the key factors that our partners had identified in one of our partner surveys, is there was a high importance in customer experience. Email marketing, as you'll touch on the next point, is, very affordable and a low cost way to improve your customer retention and improve that client experience.
Exactly. And I think and on that point, it really does help drive customer loyalty and retention as well, because once they're in your database, there's lots of different types of emails that you can send to them. And I'll walk you through that in the further slides, but it's a great way to have different touch points with your customers as well to, just to build that relationship and rapport with them. And as you mentioned, Meryl, it is really affordable by nature. There's not really a cost involved with email marketing. The majority of the cost would be the time invested in an email automation platform. But ultimately, this is a very low low barrier to entry from a cost perspective. So what are the types of emails that you would normally send out? So the top ones I have, there's quite a lot more, but these are I'd say my top 5 emails that we normally send out for a lot of our clients. So firstly, we look at email newsletters. So email newsletters generally tend to go to your current database of contacts that are your customers. So this might be an opportunity to educate them in terms of what's going on with your company, whether there's new product updates, whether there's events. But those are generally the type of content you'd include in an email newsletter. Lead nurturing emails, on the other hand, generally tend to go out to prospects, so people that haven't actually converted yet to a customer. And through this is where you would send them educational content. So this could be a white paper, this could be an ebook, this could be a checklist. Ultimately, the aim for these lead nurturing emails is to drive them to conversion, or to drive to book that meeting or take a trial with you, but get that conversation happening. The next type of emails are promotional emails. With promotional emails, this generally works for seasonal during different seasons, whether it's like a holiday campaign, whether it's a new year, or if it's end of financial year. Most clients tend to offer a discount on services or offer a free value add service. And that can be something that's just a one-off email.
That as well can tie in with, a lot of companies now are out of lockdown, they're returning in the office, so that this might be a timely moment to be thinking about, promotional emails.
Exactly right. And then my favorite type of emails are milestone emails, because with any business, it's an achievement to, hit certain years in terms of your growth of your business. So milestone emails could be like, for example, if it's your first birthday, or, it's your company's 5th year anniversary. It's just another nice way to humanize your brand with your audience and kind of bring them along the journey in terms of who you guys are.
Yeah,
And
it definitely gives those fuzzy, well, for me anyways, I'm like, oh my gosh, they remembered. I know that it's automated, but it's still sort of a good feeling.
yeah, 100%. And finally, the last type of emails that generally tend to go out are survey emails. So generally, this tends to happen either post an event or post a webinar, or sometimes you want to do like a net promoter score with your audience. How are you guys delivering on service, areas of improvement? So sometimes these survey emails can go to your current customer base or people that have engaged with you either through an event or a webinar. So the next thing we need to look at when we look at email marketing is ESPs. An ESP is an email service provider, and it's a software that really helps you manage your email marketing campaigns. It's also referred to as an email marketing platform, an email marketing tool, but ultimately the goal of an ESP is to help you deliver a variety of different emails to a wide database of contacts. And whilst there's a lot of different ones out there, from MailChimp to HubSpot to Pardot to Campaign Monitor, Zoho, the list goes on. But my only thing that I get you guys to start thinking of when it comes to ESPs is, what is your purpose and what are your business goals and objectives, and tie that back into your ESP. Because, for example, every ESP has different price brackets and every ESP has different functionality and requirements built into it as well. So there's no point you investing like $10,000 in a HubSpot email platform if you're not going to use all the functionality. You might be better off saying, hey, I'm going to start off with MailChimp, and then you might want to upgrade later on. But it depends on where your business is and what your requirements are. So I'd say take that into consideration when selecting your ESP.
So just on this ESPs, I know a lot of our partners are using, their PSAs, Autotask, ConnectWise, and they do have email marketing functionality. What is the difference between that versus these ESPs? Can they just use that functionality in their PSAs?
You can, but again, it comes back to the functionality and what you want from an ESP. Like, for example, if you're using a MailChimp and a HubSpot, there's a lot more analytics and a lot more metrics that are tied behind it. A lot of these ESPs can also be integrated back into your website. So a lot of like your website forms and stuff like that, they can get integrated into your ESP. So it's just those different things to consider with how much or how little you want. With a lot of these ESPs as well, you can create a lot of templates. There's a lot more customization you can do with your email. So that might be something you want to consider. I know with Autotask and ConnectWise, it's not as streamlined, or it's not as easy to use, I would say, from a marketer's perspective. But those are just some little nuances. I mean, the best thing is with a lot of these platforms, I'd say before you invest in one, you can also just take a free trial and just kind of see what works for you. Every business has different requirements. We've got clients that prefer one over the other, but ultimately it's understanding your objective and what you're hoping to use from an ESP. So the next question we get asked a lot is, what's the difference, or why would I need an ESP? Why can't I send out a variety of different emails from my own email, like my personal Gmail or my personal Outlook? And the reason for that is because an ESP is built to help you deliver emails. Like, it helps with that process to make sure emails get delivered into your client's mailbox. With a lot of your personal emails, whether it's Gmail, Outlook, Yahoo, Hotmail, they're not built to send out mass emails to your database, And again, as you can see here on the left-hand side, this is a beautiful email that's been designed by marketing. It's got a lot of images, it's got text, it's got a good call to action button. Whereas the email on the right-hand side, this is a plain text email that comes up from your Gmail. And how I would normally say that these two can work together is, for example, if you are running a webinar, which is a prime example, you might firstly send out an email from your email platform, and that can be beautifully designed. But then also to encourage people to, to come to it, I'm also sending out a personal email from my mailbox just to make sure it's a more personal touch point with them, and it's also personally inviting them to come along. So in this instance, both of them can work nicely, but I would say avoid sending out mass emails from your Gmail or your Outlook. And the reason for that is because it can get caught in a spam filter, and you can also get delisted, or your email can get delisted. So moving on to the essence of why you guys jumped in the webinar today, and it's all about email marketing best practices. And I love this quote by Seth Godin, which says, "Permission marketing is the privilege, not the right, of delivering anticipated, personal, and relevant messages to people who actually want to get them." There's no point having a database of over like 20,000 people if you're noticing that no one's opening your emails, unsubscribe rates are really high. So it's all about creating a beautiful email or an engaging email to your audience, so they actually are looking forward to receiving your emails, whether it be on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis.
Just on this, Sim, it kind of ties back to the first workshop that we did, which was on the buyer personas. And I think that, if you guys haven't checked that out yet, we can send that as well as a follow-up to this, included in that email, because it's one of those fundamentals to get right first in your messaging, so that you can create these tailored messages to the clients or your prospects that actually want to receive it, and you can get that higher engagement.
Agreed. And I think, we're jumping a bit ahead of this tip here, but I will say that it's very important to identify as well what your buyer personas are looking for. There's no point thinking, hey, everyone's doing an email newsletter, I need to do an email newsletter as well. That may not be the right fit for you. It may not be something you need to do on a monthly basis. It might be something quarterly. So the more insight you have into your buyer persona, it'll help you identify the way to craft these messages to your audiences.
Yeah, I think internally, like after the actual buyer persona workshop with you, Sim, we actually thought about it internally. Like we actually need to spend some time doing a full buyer persona, actually interviewing our partners and not just making it up on the fly.
It's great because, with any marketing that you do, it's, everyone has a level of fear that, oh my God, what happens if it's not the right thing? Or what happens if no one responds? It's almost like the kid who's like, in the park waiting to be selected for the person on the soccer team. If you don't try, you never know what's going to work or not. So I'd say, just take the fear element out of it, try it, and then learn from it at the same time.
Yeah.
So my first top tip, it sounds really strange, but my first top tip is to make sure you send your emails from a recognizable sender name and address, because, for example, if I got an email from John Murphy and I have no idea who they are, chances are I'm going to literally just click that and put it straight into the bin. I'm not even going to consider opening it because it might be a phishing email or someone might be spamming me. So, here at Pounce, what we normally do is when we send out our monthly newsletters, it generally tends to come from me. And I also put my company name in there because a lot of our customers, they know who I am. I've had a touch point with them. So more than likely, this helps you with your open rates and your click-through rates for your emails as well. I know, Meryl, you and I have had a conversation about, whether it's good to add emojis into a subject line or not.
This has caused internal debate within with our marketing team and our Brader team as to whether we should, add emojis or not.
It's one of those funny ones, you know, Meryl. Like we've tried both of it. We've tried testing it to see whether adding emojis, you know, help with open rates and stuff like that. Personally, for us, it hasn't worked out. You know, the email rates are the same. But some people have said that, you know, by adding more emojis in there, or selective emojis, I should say. So, you know, when I say that, don't chuck everything into your subject line, but, you know, just really making sure that you have like just a couple here and there, it might be a nice visual touch point. And it helps make your email stand out from that of your database. And, you know, when I write a compelling subject line, I also want to make sure that it's not too long, it's sharp, it's catchy, it's going to stand out in someone's mailbox. And if you are using an ESP, the best thing is that it allows you to do A/B testing on your subject lines. The other thing with subject lines is that there's lots of free tools out there as well. So sometimes if you're like, I'm not sure if this is the best subject line for me or not, but this tool, for example, we use OmniSend. And it's a platform that allows you to actually just type your subject line in, and it will give you feedback as to whether it's considered spammy or whether it's, you know, it's going to convert or it's not going to convert. So sometimes having those insights really help you from a subject line perspective as well.
So that's OmniSend, is it?
OmniSend, correct.
Okay.
There's lots of different ones
include
out
that. We'll include that in the follow-up email, just because these are great tools that the guys can use as well.
Correct.
And so just on the tip number 2 around compelling subject lines. So what's the don'ts? Like, what should we avoid?
Great question. I think the things to avoid is sounding very salesy. So, you know, using the words like free or exclusive, you know, sometimes those generally tend to be considered very spammy. If you are going to test out using emojis in your subject lines, I'd say probably pick 1 or 2. Don't just add like 10 emojis in your subject line, because I can guarantee you that that's going to get caught in spam. Don't try to add too much to your subject line. Like, don't overthink it. You know, sometimes people think that, you know, in this instance, you can see some people have half price in all caps. A little element of caps is fine, but don't have your entire subject line, which is all caps, because then it feels like you're screaming at someone via email, you know? And I think also avoid excessive punctuation. Sometimes I've seen some emails come through and there's like 5 or 6 exclamation marks. And I'm like, why would I click that? You know, and straight away for me personally, I put that in the bin. So I think, you know, just be mindful of how your subject line comes across and put yourself in the shoes of your customer or your prospect. If you saw that subject line, would you want to click on that email, or do you think it's considered spam? So, you know, that little self-check, check and balance as well is a good kind of test in terms of how to do that. My next top tip is focusing on the pre-header text. So a lot of times people get confused by what this is. So in the example on the left, you can see that you've got TJC e-marketing as the from address, a fresh look at email marketing, that's your subject line. And this little snippet of text just after that subject line, that is what your pre-header text is. So on the version on the left, you can see that includes pre-header text. The version on the right, it does not include pre-header text. So as you can see, without pre-header text, it almost looks like it's a bit of a spammy email again. So when you are thinking about pre-header text, the easiest way to think about it is, well, I use food analogy, so you guys have to excuse me. It's like the milk.
You said food. You said food, and my ears pricked up. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, so for me, it's almost like the milk to your coffee. Or if you don't have milk, it's like the sugar to your coffee. You know, it's just, it's meant to work quite complementary to your subject line. So don't repeat your subject line in your pre-header text. The pre-header text is almost like a little synopsis to what your email is going to be about. You know, so sometimes some best practices are to include like maybe a nice simple call to action in there, or, you know, give someone a little snippet as to what is in that email and why they should kind of open that email. And
It's like a teaser.
Correct. And once you add that pre-header text, it definitely helps boost your open rates as well for your email marketing.
Just before we move on, I just wanted to cover off A/B testing. We've got a question from Ray. So he just wanted some details around what is A/B testing, what can we implement, and can these pre-header preview texts, can they be A/B tested as well, or is it just the subject line?
So when you do A/B testing, there's lots of different ways you can do it. Some people just do the basic level of A/B testing, which is generally, A/B testing your subject line. But there's, you can take it a step further, and you can also A/B test your entire email. So A/B testing is just the process of taking one email and maybe splitting it to your audience, or splitting your database 50-50. So 50% get this version of an email, and then 50% get this version. The reason why you would do that is because you want to see what's going to resonate, what language resonates, how the email resonates, and then you can use those insights to improve on your next email marketing that you send out. The things that you can test for are subject line. You can do color variations to your email. You can test pretty much anything. The most popular ones I would say, or I would recommend, is testing your CTA buttons at the bottom of your emails.
So just on that, CTAs are the call to actions.
Correct.
So for example, it might be register now, download now,
correct,
that type of thing. Save my spot.
Yeah. Like if I'm doing a blog, or I'm trying to promote a blog in an email, I might change my one call to action might be read more. My alternate test of that subject line might be learn more. So depending on what those things are, you can even change the colors, where they're positioned in your email as well, to see if that gives you the insight. So lots of different ways of how you can test your emails. But I'd highly recommend doing an A/B test, because even at the bare minimum, if it's just for your subject line, it's a great way to see how that impacts engagement with your audience.
And with the A/B testing, does that also refer to doing a A/B test on the beautiful marketing designed image versus a plain text email? Can that be an A/B test?
You can. So there's two types of plain text. Is also another version you can still send out from your email platform. But again, with that, there's just no beautiful images. It just literally looks, what you see is what you get, just text on a white background, and that's it.
Okay. And is there a point, because you mentioned you can split your database or your contact list, is there a point to do that if your database list, like some of these guys might not even have an email marketing database list, they might be new to email marketing. If their email database is small, is there a point to do A/B testing?
I would say as long as you have about 100 contacts in your database, I would say you can at least start with A/B testing. It's not so much a size of your database, but at least having a starting point. If you've only got 50 contacts in there, I'd probably say it's not worth the time, because it's such a small base, and you're not really going to get the true insights. 25 here, 25 there. It's not enough to really make informed decisions in terms of what's working, what's not. But once you hit 100, at least then it's starting. The more data you have, the better it is, because you can see how it reacts. But at least if you have 100 contacts in your database, it's a great way to start.
Okay. Sorry, I'm asking all these questions and I've realized we've hit time. I'll let you fly through.
I'm going to quickly keep going here, just because I am mindful, and we've got a few more tips to go. The next thing is to personalize your emails to build rapport and trust. So a lot of times, a lot of our clients think that personalization is just about, adding a hi first name, whatever the person's first name is. Or in this case, it's hey, Ali. But personalization is a lot more than that. Personalization can also include how you are putting people in your database. For example, on the left-hand side, this Nissan have done a personalized email for, once you purchased a car, they've sent out an email 6 months later saying you're now due for your maintenance. There's different ways and different things you can do from a personalization perspective. So just keep that in mind, that it's not just, hey, first name. My top tip number 5 is to create engaging email designs to make sure that there's a good legible flow and a structure to your email. And what I mean by that is just being very considered in terms of understanding how a person views an email and where you're placing the content and the information. For example, if you are driving people to register for a webinar, the first thing that I'd say is in the header banner itself, you can add a CTA button and you can hyperlink that straight away to your landing page. So the person doesn't have to scroll all the way down to the bottom of your email to read your call to action, but at least there's a clear way for them straight away visually through the eye. They can see the call to action button and they can click it. The other thing to kind of consider is if you are using an email platform, whether that be MailChimp or whether it be Autotask, there's different ways for you to set up templates. So what I mean by that is you can create a newsletter template, which is the structure of what that email is going to be. And then month on month, you can just update the content, update the images, but it saves you time from having to recreate the entire EDM from scratch. The next tip I have is to make sure you always include an unsubscribe link in your emails, because this protects your email from getting delivered. Most ESPs won't actually let you send out an email if you don't have that unsubscribe link in the email. The unsubscribe link, I know it can kind of be very upsetting when people do unsubscribe to your emails, but it's also great because with the unsubscribe, there's different, you can tailor your unsubscribe to understand why people aren't, or why people are unsubscribing to your list. For example, you can set it up so the emails are no longer relevant, they are no longer interested, they're not a customer anymore. So there's different ways you can structure it to get the insights as to why people are unsubscribing from your database.
What you can do there, just to add, is you can update, have a setting to update the email preferences. So if your contact does decide to unsubscribe, they have the option to checkbox what topics they still want to be alerted to. So then that way you're not completely losing out on that contact. They're still engaged, but to the topics that they are interested in.
Correct.
Actually, just before we move on, I just had Maria ask a question about the AB list. Would you recommend splitting the AB list to be fairly similar customers?
Not necessarily, no. I would say you can split it. So you can split it per buyer persona. So for example, if you're sending it out to your customers, then yes, split it to your current database and split it 2 ways. If you're doing it to prospects, then you would split your A/B test in terms of one message for buyer persona A, which might be IT managers, or the second A/B test would be to C-level executives or business owners, so just thinking about how you do it and who your audience is and splitting it that way is important as well. The next thing to consider is how we optimize your email for mobile. As you can see, more and more people are using their mobile phone, not just for communicating to people, but everyone's reading emails, reading ebooks and stuff like that on your email device. So it's very, very important to make sure that when you are setting up your email, that you are optimizing it for mobile. There's lots of different platforms that you can test your emails as well for, like, readability across mobile devices. But, what I recommend is before you do anything, most ESPs have already set up a lot of templates that are responsive, but just make sure you look at it on your phone and how all the emails scale to look at it on a mobile device. Because if someone can't read your email or the content on a mobile device, they're going to straight away delete your email. So you might have the most compelling message, you might have the best design, but if someone can't actually read it on mobile, it's not going to get any open rate. So it's not going to drive any results for you. And, Meryl, coming back to your point in terms of identifying your buyer personas, when you are looking at email marketing, it's very important to segment your database. And what I mean by that is create different emails for different audiences. In some cases, the easiest way to segment your database would be from customers versus prospects. So customers get content that's really geared and tailored towards them, whereas prospects may only receive educational content to help them along the buyer's journey. So splitting your database out, customers versus prospects, will help you with your open rates. It'll help you with your click-through rates. It'll also help reduce your unsubscribes because you're creating content that's relevant for that audience. The other way that you can segment your database is also by job title. So sometimes, you want to send different messages to someone that's a business owner versus someone that might be an influencer in the decision-making process. So the types of content they want to receive or the messages they receive, it'll all be quite different. So I think, once you understand who your buyer personas are, it'll help you segment your database as well.
And just on that, because you had mentioned, other people within the organization, it's important to think about adding those other people, not just the decision makers, but those other people that can influence decisions. It might be the office manager, for instance, accounts, and then in that way, you can then tailor the messaging as well for those specific roles and buyer roles.
Correct. And sometimes a lot of our MSPs that we work with also segment the list for people that are in procurement. So the procurement teams as well. And then also knowing when the procurement cycle is and then sending out emails at that point, just to get front of mind of them as well, has been quite successful. My tip 9 for you guys is to make sure you test your emails. Sometimes you can, whether you have designers or whether you're doing this yourself, sometimes your email might have some typos that you may not be aware of, or sometimes your call to action buttons, they may not link properly to the landing page that you want, or it may not link anywhere. And there might also be some formatting errors with this, and formatting can mean how it looks like on a mobile device. So make sure you test your email before you hit the send button. And the other thing I would like to flag to you guys is sometimes you might just accidentally hit send and then you notice that something's gone wrong with your email, right? It's not the right link, or you've got the wrong date and time for something. Don't panic and don't just kind of wash it under the rug and be like, I hope no one saw that. I hope no one notices that was the wrong email send.
It happens to the best of us. It happened to us a couple of times. We're human after all.
But it's very important to send a follow-up email to apologize for what has happened, and by you doing that and acknowledging the fault, you are going to gain so much more respect from your database because they actually know that you've identified an issue and you're trying to fix it. And, these kind of whoops or gotcha emails or sorry emails, there's always fun ways you can play with it to make people have a bit of a laugh at the same time. Yes, you've made a mistake. The world's not going to end, but how you handle that response, that's where you can have a bit of fun with it. For example, here you can see this email's come through. It says, oh, hi, earlier today, we sent you an email that contained nothing but an image of a cat. This was purposely a mistake. So please accept our apologies for littering your inbox. It's such a fun email that even if someone sent that to me and it was the wrong email, it makes me laugh. And I'm more than likely to remember this brand because they sent me something, but they fixed it in such a funny way that I'm more than likely to keep wanting to see what other emails come from this client. And I know we're coming to the end of time, so I'm going to whiz through this one. But my final tip for you guys is to make sure you schedule your campaigns for the right time. Most of the time when we do email marketing, there's different ways that you can do it. So with your email platform, there's, you can send your email straight away, and that's great if, you want to get it done. But for some people, you may not necessarily have the time to get your email set up and sent on that day because, for example, you've got kid pickup or this happens and, you've lost time to send your email immediately. But what you can do is, and this is the benefit of having an email platform, is that you can get everything set up and schedule it for when you want at a later date and time. A lot of our clients are based across the APAC. So one thing that we do, or we advise our clients when they are sending out emails, is that it's important to realize the time zone because this will help impact your open rates. What I mean by that is if you've got a client based in Malaysia, the time zone difference between Australia and Malaysia is 3 hours. You don't want to be sending them an email at say 4 o'clock in the morning their time, because no one's going to open it, or by the time they get in their day, there's this many emails in their mailbox and they're just not going to get to it, you know? So by getting an understanding of where your audience is and scheduling it based on the time zone will help you. In Australia, generally the rule of thumb is to avoid Mondays and Fridays like the plague, because, you know, Monday, everyone's just kind of starting their week. Friday, because everyone's getting ready for the weekend. So we generally tend to find that Tuesdays and Thursdays are the best time, the best dates to send out emails. And the time is roughly, I'd say about 10 in the morning, just when people are, you know, settling in from their morning routine, and about 2 p.m. That's kind of when we see the highest open rates. Again, your audience is very different, and using an email platform, you can look at the insights that come from it, and then you can always adjust it accordingly as well. So my top takeaways for you guys for today is that if you haven't started email marketing, why not try? You know, start somewhere, think about what's going to be valuable, what's going to be something that your customers would like to hear from you, or prospects that would like to hear from you. If you have, most of you would already have your website set up, but a great way to do this is, for example, if your website has like a newsletter subscribe function, why not automate that? So when someone fills in a form to subscribe to a newsletter, they get an automated email saying, hey, thanks for subscribing to our newsletter. Our next newsletter is due out every month on a particular date or time, but here's some further information. It's just a nice way to make a customer feel valued, or a prospect feel valued, that, hey, I've given you this information, and now they're hearing something from you. The next thing is to select the right ESP. You know, there's so many different ESPs out there. And as I mentioned, some of them can be very, very expensive, and some of them are a little bit more cost effective. But again, it just depends on what you need from that ESP. Do you need to set up automated workflows? Do you need to set up, are you just sending an email out once a month? Is that something you need to consider, you know? And how much investment do you want to have? Because the tool is only as powerful as how you're going to be using it. Some tools, some of these ESPs have great reporting, great analytics, and great insights. But if you don't have time to look into it, it may not be of value. So you might be able to pick something that's a lot more easy and a lot more streamlined for you to use in your business. The next thing is to make sure we create meaningful and engaging emails. There is no point saying, yes, I'm going to commit to sending out a monthly newsletter if you're struggling to think of content to go in there. You know, the content really has to resonate and be meaningful to your audience, because ultimately, if they're not happy with the content, what's going to happen is they're going to unsubscribe from your database. And the minute that happens, it's so hard to get them to opt back in to receiving emails from you. My fourth takeaway is to make sure you test your emails, because I mean, I've been guilty of it. You know, my team have been guilty of it. We're not perfect, but we do a general test to about 4 to 5 people in our organization, because someone might pick up something that we never noticed, or it might be someone's using it on an iPhone versus a Samsung, or someone might be looking at it on a desktop or a tablet. And there might be little nuances that you may or may not have picked up if you were doing testing by yourself. And finally, the last piece of the puzzle is to optimize and refine your EDMs. You know, the minute you send something out, it's not, you know, you can give yourself a pat on the back that you sent it out, but the true value that's going to come out from this is for you to look at, hey, 1 week later, why don't you go into your ESP and look at, you know, what were my open rates? What were my click-through rates? Did anyone engage in my email? You know, and another thing that you guys can look at from this perspective is also your bounce rates. So your bounce rates indicate whether your email has been sent to that audience or not. The higher the bounce rate, the lower the quality of your database. So it's another gauge for you to understand the health of your database. So in a nutshell, I love email marketing. There's lots of tools you can use. There's lots of great insights, but you know, don't get freaked out by thinking that it's too overwhelming. Start small, and you can always add on your email marketing as you grow your business. with that, I might hand it back to the floor if anyone has got any questions, because I know I ran through the
So
last few
that
minutes,
was
so
mainly
we're on
me
time.
asking questions. Yeah, we are over time, guys, but if you wanted to pop through any last minute questions, if not, we have our wrap up email anyways for everyone who's registered. We'll put down the links that Sim had mentioned. We're also giving a template on the anatomy of an effective email for those that have registered, just to help you along with that. Thanks, Don. Doesn't look like we have any questions, but as always, you can get in touch with Sim and us, and we can help you sort of move that along. We've got plenty of resources in our content hub as well for hosted network partners. So if you do want to start on your email marketing journey, we've got a lot of email marketing templates ourselves. We can also work with you on custom plans as well. So yeah. Thanks again, guys, for joining. Sim, thanks so much for running this workshop, and we'll see you at the next one, which will be on improving your branding with personalized branding with LinkedIn. Is that correct?
LinkedIn. Correct. Yep.
Awesome. Thanks, Sergey.
All right, thanks, guys. I hope you found this session useful, and if you need any help, I'm here, and Meryl and the team are here to help as well.
Oh, I've got one question before we jump off. We've got Ray. What is the most popular platform to use for getting started?
I will
A rabbit
say
hole,
that
is it?
most of our clients use MailChimp. And the reason why I say that is that from when MailChimp first started to where they are now, they've made a lot of improvements in the platform, and they've really made it more user-friendly. And there's a lot more integrations and stuff like that with MailChimp. So I'd say that if you haven't started yet, maybe consider looking at MailChimp as a starting point.
Awesome. We've got Philip also mentioning ActiveCampaign.
Yeah, we use ActiveCampaign.
Oh, you guys do?
Yeah, and we love it. But again, every tool has nuances, and we find that ActiveCampaign is great because it sets up, email automation. It sets up triggers for different things. We've got different segmentation built into it, and we found that really useful for us as a business, and that kind of ties in nicely to our website. But yeah, I love ActiveCampaign, but there's nothing wrong with MailChimp as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Sim. We'll leave it there, and we'll see you at the next session, guys.
No worries.
Bye.